Ladies and gentlemen, and of course, gentle ladies, welcome to episode 252 of the Emerging Gamer podcast. This is very weird for me. I literally almost went right into my usual stick.
I was gonna say we got the special GSM intro today. That was good, dude.
I literally was just like, "Welcome to Random Number." No, I'm Diamond Jab. I'm going to be a special host for today. Who do I have next to me?
No one knows who that is. Call out the name because we're different on every.
Neo Aoshi, what's going on, brother?
What's up? It's Neo Aoshi. That's me.
Is that Trip Zero?
Hey guys, Trip Zero. What's going on?
Felix Argo, what's going on?
This is Felix Ergood. What's up, bud?
Oof. What's going on, guys?
Sorry
252.
Sorry to throw that on you at the last minute. I just was thinking, I was like, man, he hasn't done it.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
just good vibes, good times.
Break the ice, man.
Always.
Don't leave it the fuck alone.
I know. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Very busy week.
Yes, very busy week. If I remember correctly, it's housekeeping and then what you guys have been playing, correct?
Correct.
Sure. Yeah.
Nailed it.
All right.
Nailed it.
Beautiful. Housekeeping, what do we got going on?
Take care of that. Check out the YouTube on Emerging Gamer. We are uploading the shows there. We're looking to get more content on there, and I'm trying to figure out more things to put there as well. But for now, you can get all the shows there. Might start breaking out the episodes again. And that is about it for housekeeping. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. The usual.
And tell your friends about us.
Tell
if
your
you're
friends.
already
Mom.
subscribed.
And your mom.
Tell your parents, tell
Moms
your
are welcome.
siblings.
Your mom specifically.
I listened to. I don't think I ever told. I told you guys this. I never told Diamond this. I listened to a really great podcast called "You Must Remember This,"
Mhm.
and it's about old Hollywood stories or legends, right? Things that happened in Hollywood. And the reason I always say the thing about tell your friends if you're already subscribed is she says that at the beginning of every one of her episodes, and it actually engaged me enough to say it to somebody else. I did that.
That's why YouTubers say like, share, subscribe.
I liked
Good
the
to know.
show, and then I went and told a friend, and I said,
Look at that.
"You're right, Karina Longfellow or whatever the hell her fucking name is. I should tell my friends," and I did. And I also told everyone listening right now to this podcast, you must remember this. It's great.
Oh, one more thing. Speaking of podcasts, I actually started a new podcast this week. It is called Love City Podcast.
Yes.
The Love City Podcast. It is currently on Spotify, and it will be on Apple and Google soon.
It's being reviewed, right?
It's under review right now, but it's available on Spotify and Anchor FM if you guys choose to get it there.
Usually-
RSS is ready. You can load it right in.
Usually takes a couple of days with the iTunes.
Love it.
Yeah. And that podcast is going to be more focused on like streamer culture and just in general. We're going to talk games, obviously, but it'll be more focused on like what's going on in streamer life and streamer culture. So we want to talk more about that. And that's honestly, it's one of Ezra's, my co-host. It's one of her strong suits. So it's definitely a good time. Our first episode is live right now, and we talk about the Twitch Safety Council. So I hope you enjoy that.
It's a quick turnaround.
I know, right?
That's a hot button topic.
How long
this
are the
Twitch
episodes?
It's really hot button.
How long?
This episode was 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Because
Got it.
we just talked about the topic. Next week we might talk about just Mixer and the different streaming platforms in general, and like what's attractive about them, and what are like the pros and cons, and just what do you see streamers like gravitating towards in general. So ultimately that is the idea of the show. We're giving it a shot. Pilot is out. Please like, share, subscribe.
Cool.
Love it.
Nice.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we like to get into what we're playing this week,
Yes, we
or
do.
what we've been playing in general. Felix, I'm going to start with you
Oh,
because
thanks.
I know you've been holding on to this. Tell us about your escapades this week.
First off, and as it
Here he goes.
is germane to what we're going to be talking about later, I pre-ordered Ghosts of Tsushima, which I pronounced
Nice, dude.
wrong up until this point, and now I'm just reeling myself back in. Completely pronounced that fucking wrong. It's
You did.
Tsushima.
It's not Tsushima.
Not
That's what they were fucking saying in the video.
They weren't.
Tsushima.
You were.
That's
you were
not
doing
how
that.
they were pronouncing it.
No, it's not how they were pronouncing it.
They pronounced it that way. Don't make
No.
me look like a
Tsushima.
fucking dick again.
We're not making you look like anything. You're saying the word incorrectly.
It's not Tsushima.
No, it's Tsushima.
I swear to God, they didn't pronounce it that way.
Tsushima.
You're probably looking at something on your phone
No, I
and missed it.
watched the video from the developers. Watch it yourself.
That last one was a jet.
Okay.
So you pre-ordered it.
I pre-ordered
this
that,
game.
and I'd already pre-ordered Last of Us 2. Pre-ordered that.
Very nice.
Oh,
Very excited for both those games.
Bought something else too. I don't remember. But anyway, I played some Fallout. They did a double XP weekend. I haven't really been able to get my head back into the swing of that. And then I got to the second DLC part in Fate of Atlantis for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is where you meet Hades, and the game gets beautiful. I mean, I'm not even kidding. It's like the poem. What's the one?
Dante's Inferno.
Dante's Inferno. Yeah, it's literally. It's like, yeah, exactly. You get the visual art that they did with this whole section of the game is fascinating to me. It's really cool. A lot of but it's really gray and dark and it's hell. I mean, it's great. It's so cool. So if you ever get a chance to go through that game and then play that part 2, try it. I'm not done it yet, but it's way more interesting than the part 1. The part 1 was Elysium, which is the heaven for warriors or whatever that you get to. Mm-hmm. So the part 2 is just been refreshing. I don't even know what the third part's going to be. Can't wait. But I'm excited playing through that. The most important thing is I went to the World Series.
Congratulations.
MLB The Show 20.
Our tickets were really expensive this year.
Not many people can say that.
Yeah. So the Phillies won the World Series. Quiet. Yeah, the Phillies won the World Series with a completely jacked up, completely illegal team. I mean, we had tons of pros. There were legends on there. There were created characters. There was a fictional character. There were friends of mine. Kevin Oates was on my team. So there's a lot going on there. On top of that, Diamond, and this is the thing I really wanted to talk to you about. That's not why I invited you on the show. Remember, you're here because we love you.
Thank you.
I'd be scared right now if I were you, Diamond.
Yeah, here we go.
We didn't trick you to come on here because of this.
Felix honestly did remember that Diamond has had some sports games, experience. So that's why he's going to ask this question now. Disclaimer: it's not why we invited Diamond yet.
I just want to give him,
Felix. You know that everyone now knows that it's going to be okay.
Diamond, I asked you if
no one thinks you're a dick.
Prior to the show, I asked you if you knew what the meta is basically of playing games like this. Is that how I phrased it? I can't remember. But
no, you just asked if I played sports games.
No, I need to. Well, okay. Do you know what sliders are?
Yes.
Okay, so you know what sliders
you don't have to play sports games to know what a slider is. You can just watch baseball.
Pervert.
No, not a slider. No, not a slider type of pitch. That is a term.
That was going to be my guess.
That is a term.
Wow. Okay.
I'm talking about right.
Journey, right?
I didn't clarify that.
Is...
I forgot I was playing a baseball game. I get it. So yeah, not slider the pitch. We know what sliders are in baseball. Yeah. No. What I'm referring to is sliders in, well, I don't know if they're in 2K, but specifically in EA sports titles, or well, wait, the show is in
do you mean settings? Do you mean settings sliders?
Sliders for the performance of your play.
I was like, I'm down to two things that sliders could be in the English language after that.
Well, when they're called sliders because when you in MLB The Show, because when you go to save them, your save file is slider save file. That's what they call it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was losing a lot and manipulated those sliders to my benefit. Okay. So I played approximately over 100 games, winning a lot, before I realized how much I had jacked these sliders up to the point where it was unfair to the computer, basically.
It's like you were playing with the Monster Squad in Space Jam versus the Tiny Toons.
I was playing with all these really good players, but then I also jacked up their hitting capabilities, right? I basically cheated. It's cheating.
Yeah, you game sharked your game, dude.
Game sharked my game.
Would you say that it injected a higher performance capability to your play?
Would you have to put an asterisk on your season?
Would you have to?
Well, I started getting
like your World Series is tainted.
I started getting. Well, I started getting addicted to hitting home runs, so it was great. I had a great time.
I was trying to think of Barry Bonds pun.
You've officially gone on the journey that Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa went on.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, because I didn't
97.
hit 73 plus home runs, so I didn't actually get that journey. I did not get that far along. I had a hitter who got over 50, but like we never made it to 73. But the point is okay, so now I've done this, and I'm going to adjust them. I'm not going to adjust the hitting capability back. In the next season I play, I'm going to adjust the computer to give them better timing and things like that to make the games a little bit more competitive. Right?
Sure.
The problem I had was with a specific slider, and it's injuries. Okay, I increased the injuries. I went 162 games, an entire postseason, and the World Series, and didn't have a single injury, and I can't figure out why. I don't know why in this game it won't produce injuries. And I'm thinking, and this is the question I want to ask, do difficulty levels add to more injuries? Like, do you get more injured if you go into heavier difficulty levels, to your knowledge?
Potentially. It depends on how they shape the difficulty. A lot of times there are two stats that are typically attached to it. There's the enhancement slider that for injuries, and that just affects the overall kind of concept of the game.
Which I turned all the way up. I did turn that all the way up.
And then typically players themselves have their own injury statistic.
Which is that based on their energy bar, or
that I don't know.
Okay, you don't know how it works.
In terms of how the show has done it, right. I don't know. Okay. I know how other sports games have done it, where there's a specific injury stat for the player, and then there's a slider that impacts the whole game. Typically, it's like it impacts the computer or the player, because you typically have two separate sliders.
That makes sense. So I think I got to figure out what, by going on forums or something, I have to research to figure out what makes that injury stat. I don't want my players injured every 5 minutes, but I do want a semblance of realism back to the game, because it's
there are actually forums that specify what type of experience do you want, because if you want crazy realistic, there are sliders that will impact the fact that you really can't throw the same pitch twice or 3 times, because the computer, like a real player, is going to figure out what you're throwing.
I don't know if I want to like hurt myself, but I definitely want basic injuries to come back into the game, because it's just fucking stupid to go 162 games and not one guy even fucking stubbed a toe. I mean, come on. What the fuck?
Yeah. Or you just did a really good job of giving players your breaks. It's 100%
you know what?
possibility.
It's great you bring that up, because I did make that mistake, and that there were statistics that I never could catch up on. I was trying to do all these various statistics, and I could never catch up because the players weren't worked enough. They weren't played enough. And now I'm leaving it to the computer to just tell me when they need to go out or whatever. Because I was doing it on purpose, because I thought, if their energy bar gets under a certain, they're going to get an injury. Well, then I said, fuck it, when they weren't keeping up in the stats. And then I started realizing they weren't goddamn getting injured. And I was like, well, I could just put them in whenever I want. So something was broken in that, but I'll have to research online a little bit more. But I thought I'd run it by you.
Yeah, but you went to the World Series, so congrats,
dude.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's a big milestone for a lot of people.
Super proud. We'll put
bare
the
minimum
on, and you get them next year.
Bare minimum, it's a milestone because I just did it. Because it's a lot of games. I didn't sim a game. There wasn't one game simmed. The only thing I simmed was the off season. That was pretty much it. So
proud of you. Let me ask a side question real quick before I move on, and you guys could chime in as well. Assassin's Creed, you mentioned that episode 1 was in Elysium and episode 2 was in Hades for the DLC.
Yeah.
Do you like that out of your Assassins? Is that jarring to you to go from a game that tries to present itself in a very realistic depiction of like historical ancient Greece, and then just jettison you into what could be considered the fantasy part of the game?
First off, they have a very humanist perspective on the high fantasy parts of the game. It's still it's like Earth there. Like they're like immediately in Elysium, you're introduced to a very, very human squabble, right? Like you have one group fighting against the leader of the area. In fact, there's even characters that make a comment on that, like have a meta comment on that, where they're like, I was on Earth and now I'm here and I have the same exact problems. You know what I mean? So that's first. Number one, they don't really jar it too much. Number two, I got introduced to that in the game before. Like you go to the afterlife of Egypt in the first game, in their DLC. So I already kind of knew what I was in for, but it was completely different. Like, I mean, it's just based on different mythology. So it was neat to see the Greek perspective of that. So I'm chimed in. I'm good. I love it. I also just love how with this one, I specifically love how high it is. Like you're way, Olympus is supposed to be like way up in the clouds, right? Well, there's these giant rock formations that are just in the sky, and you as an assassin should just jump off them, and you're literally free falling for some crazy amount of time. It's so much fun. Like,
fair enough. I don't know what the first thing I thought of was like how it feels like, oh well, they're just turning it into like kind of like a God of War thing, right? Where you're just a person meeting the gods and now you're fighting along the gods, kind of. Not like the remake. I'm thinking like the old ones too.
She is that the whole time. Right. She's like I said, she's a very a pragmatic version of that. Like, because the way the game is designed, she still can die and the simulation can be broken or whatever the fuck they do in Assassin's Creed,
Yeah.
But she's a demigod, and you learn that very shortly. I mean, she can jump off of any cliff and land and not die from it. It's great. Like it. I don't know what I'm going to do when I go back when I start playing Vikings next year or whenever that comes out this fall, and I jump off a cliff and my Viking just dies. Like I'm gonna be like, what just happened?
You would do that. You would desync, right? It'd be like desynced and like
that's the way it was. In the past, they would say, this doesn't mesh with the simulation. The original.
This person never jumped off a roof.
The actual event.
Same with killing people. You couldn't kill anyone in the previous one, but this character is a merc. She's a mercenary whose job was to kill people, to be as bloodthirsty as possible. So literally she could kill anyone and not be punished. The simulation would not punish you for murder.
Gotcha.
It would punish you in the sense that in that time period, if you murdered someone out of a certain amount of people for no reason, they would send mercenaries after you. And that's what happens. You get a wanted level just like in GTA, and then they send multiple mercs after you over a period of time, and you get really hairy. I mean, because the mercs fight exactly like human players. Their AI is really smart, and it just puts some pain on you when there's like 6 of them trying to kill you at once, It can get kind of nuts. So, I mean, we talked about it last week. I'm itching to have an Assassin's Creed game where I'm more vulnerable. I'm not as invincible, and the enemies are not as invincible. Like you're able to fucking kill the enemies,
Like an assassin,
like an assassin.
Yeah.
With a creed of
I don't want it I don't want it hand fed to me like they did in original games. I don't want to be a god from the beginning one, but I would like a very clear path to being godlike with at least the Assassin's Blade. That would be cool to play that again. So
cool.
Nice.
Neil, tell me a bit about what you got going
on. So this week I've pretty much just been rolling back, playing some old games. I finished Half-Life Alyx, which I wanted to talk about last week, but I think we got sidetracked with other things. I'll talk a little briefly about it right now. That game is exactly what VR is made for. In every way, that game was the best VR experience, and I haven't had that many, but it was the best next to Beat Saber that I have ever had, because they present you with all these natural feeling controls, and they put you in the position of playing a Half-Life game, which is already like a top tier design game for me, right? So the whole game is beautifully designed the whole way through, and I want to talk specifically about one level called Jeff. And in the level Jeff, you're walking along and you're killing, the head crabs and all that stuff. You're using your gravity gloves like a pro. You're pulling things to you. But you get to a level called Jeff, and you meet a human who goes, "Oh, don't worry about Jeff. He can't see you, but he can hear you." And it's an invisible head crab monster, like a person head crab monster, who only detects you by sound. And not only do they have him detect you by sound, they put you in an old vodka factory. So there are bottles everywhere. And now you can grab objects, and if you knock into something, you're going to knock a bottle over. He's going to hear that and come at you. So what they have you do, and they do this with the most clever and subtle cues. They will make you use the vodka bottles to redirect him and throw him around. And not only that, they have these spores that are like growing on the walls. If you walk too close to certain ones, your character will start coughing. So they physically make you cover your mouth with your hand with the controller. So they actually have you act out all these things as you're like tensely sneaking around this factory. And at one moment, this is the only other part I'm going to talk about. There's one moment where you're solving a puzzle and you lock him in a room and you go, "Awesome. I finally got Jeff out of my hair." Right? And he's totally gone. And then you realize that the next puzzle to activate like the elevator to get you out of the building, and the loose circuit is in the room you locked him in. So the game like goes, "You got to let him out now. So you got to go back in that room." And just the way they have you do all these things, this like dance that they have you do, it made me stop and go, damn, Valve still can rock level design like they can in Portal, like they can in the Half-Life games. They know how to design an experience and make you kind of go, "Aha, look what they just did to you," and they made me realize this on my own with the cues that they had. It's really like, honestly, it was one of the most it was a really great moment of playing the game in VR like that. And I definitely, if you have a VR headset, you guys got to play this. You got to play this game because it is absolutely outstanding. It inspired me to go back and do another run through of Half-Life 2. So I've been playing that like on stream, like late at night, just like playing through the game again. And I forgot how like breezy and fun those games are, man. It is a really fun experience, even to go back like what 15 years later. How long has it been? Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, so I've been playing that. Also, I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty World War II just for fun, just the multiplayer. I know, out of nowhere.
I did not see that coming. Holy!
I know, left field, right?
What a twist!
But that game's like fast. I mean, like it's a Call of Duty game. You know what to expect. It's a fast, high octane shooter. You spawn in, you're killing things a lot. But it's just a fun like I'm just gonna shoot the shit for a while. And of course, Valorant. That's another game I've just been putting a lot of time into. But we've talked a lot about that, and that game's pretty solid. The next game that we can talk about, if you want, Diamond. Unless you have any questions. Do you have any questions about Half-Life or whatever?
I do really quick, but before I go, in terms of the Jeff level, because I agree with you, the design aspect of that level is absolutely amazing. I've seen people play it. A buddy of mine has it, so I got the chance to like witness it secondhand.
Nice.
Without like actually getting the chance to play it. But the benefit of witnessing it secondhand is kind of my question. There's a time period in gaming where games like Outlast and Resident Evil 7 really tried to perfect that ambiance, but within the perspective of playing it with a controller. Do you think that Jeff sequence still stands up regardless of the peripheral you're using?
I think it's enhanced by the peripheral. I think because like I got the question a lot. That's like, do you think you could still play Half-Life Alyx if it wasn't in VR?
Yeah.
And maybe you can, but that game is designed with the idea that you can control both of your hands, which is not something you can do with either a controller or a keyboard and mouse. Like you just can't do that because I'm literally like everything I do is pointing at an object and I'm flicking it to my hand and I can catch it. Like that's like the main ability that you have. What's up, Felix?
I think design completely changes when you have to think about a virtual perspective.
Right.
Because I made the point, I think on here, or maybe I just made it to talking with friends. I can't remember when I made the point, but like Borderlands 2 does not translate into VR at all. The Borderlands VR experience is horrible. And the reason
That's probably a very static experience.
It's just the exact game put into VR. And the problem with that is the creatures are not designed to run at you as if you were in a VR world. They run at you and they get lost in your blind spots that are next to your body. So if you don't kill the creature before it gets close to you, you'll lose it, and it'll just be killing you.
Actually, Valve talked about this design philosophy as well when they said when you get into like firefight encounters in it, in Half-Life 2 they would throw a bunch of bad guys at you. Like they would just like throw waves of them at you until you took them out. But in Alex, what they did was they'll do a select number of select number of enemies to throw at you, and they'll position them in ways that makes it a more engaging firefight because you're moving your arms around. You're going to get really tired if you're constantly jerking around, ducking and dodging and moving. So they tailored the experience to have it so like just like 3-4 enemies at a time, and they kind of circle around you and they try and do really smart AI things, but they do it within like the limits that they know you're in VR, kind of design wise, like the way they designed it.
And that doesn't become evident to you when you're playing, right?
It became evident to me after I watched that video of them talking about it, but after I watched the video, I was like, oh, I see what they mean now by this. Like, I get it. Like,
no, but you didn't notice it when you were playing it without any inside information.
No, not really.
Okay.
The enemies I definitely noticed that they were less in number as they threw them at you. Just in general, like, it's usually like 2 or 3 or 4 of the like head crab monsters that like shamblers or whatever, and then like 3 to 4 tops maybe of the combine that they throw at you, these soldiers that you fight in the game. But going back to your like Borderlands 2 comparison, like Valve explicitly knew that they were designing a VR product in this, so I don't think that this game would translate in reverse. Like I just don't. It's just because of the way they have you do things. Like you have pockets in your like dimensional pockets in your wrist, like your storage is behind you, like they have you do all these things that like you actually have to throw a grenade, like you click the grenade and then you throw it. Like all the actions are like real one-to-one actions. Like I just don't think you could go in reverse. Like this game, they definitely knew what they were doing when they said this can only be a VR game. It's probably not going to be a non-VR game.
How many hours did it take for you to complete it?
About 15, 16 maybe.
And
it's a full game.
On average, how long was a game session for you?
Like 5-6 hours. One day I remember I had to like stop after 2 hours and just like get some water and take a break because it's kind of disorienting after a while standing around and wearing that headset and being in that world, and then you take it off and you're like, oh, whoa, real life is still here. Oh my God. So like sometimes I had to like take a break, like I couldn't just like be in there without getting nauseous after like a 3-4 hour period. Probably I'd say I give myself tops. I take breaks when I try to do it on stream too, just for the sake of it.
So there was some motion sickness from it of some kind.
If I was well hydrated and I was fine, I was usually fine. But sometimes, yes, eventually I'd be like, whoa, okay, I have to like sit down for a second, take a breather, because it does end up getting like overwhelming just being in there for a while. But yeah, 100% recommend. That is definitely the killer app for VR.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Are you ready to talk about Trip? Do you have anything?
You guys know that it's been a kind of a tumultuous week. Tumultuous. Like I know how to say the word, then I said the word, and my brain was like, nope. Tumultuous. Moving, new jobs, all this kind of stuff.
Tsushima.
But not
like Tsushima.
But last week, I mentioned on the show I picked up a Pro controller for the Switch, and that has kind of reinvigorated my connection with the Switch, so much so that I brought it upstairs, put it on my big screen TV, sat on the couch, and kind of reconnected with playing games that way. And that made me dive back into not only Breath of the Wild for a short amount of time, but Skyrim.
Nice.
And Skyrim on Switch has been so much fun, man. And I just like restarted the file that I had on there, wherever I was in the game, and just kind of like reconnected with what I was doing and explored the world. And that has been, I was in Windhelm. I was doing the murder mystery quest.
Love it.
And then since I was there, I went into the into the Jarl's chambers, like the governor of that town, and I walked in there and I started doing the war quest line.
Oh yeah.
The civil war between the Stormcloaks and the Aldmeri Dominion, the Empire. And of course that got bugged for me when I first played this game on PS3.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it got bugged for me again playing it on the Switch.
Yeah, I broke that.
Like
game.
I finished. I did the first invasion of Whiterun. I did, and then after that, like no one would talk to me. Like no one would progress the quest. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just fucking
Not
on
doing
my own now.
Yeah, I broke that city quest, and I also broke the one in. We talked about this on the show, but the one in Markarth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask what is the collective number of copies we own of this game?
Oh.
But well, let me just. I'll go personally. PS3,
tally them all up.
PS3, Switch, Special Edition, PC, VR, which was a separate purchase. So I own. I'm trying to think if Kevin Oates has given me like copy on Xbox because sometimes he just gives me Xbox games and he doesn't need anymore. So I think I'm at 4. I'm at 4. Yeah.
I'm at 3.
I have it on Switch and PC, I believe. I didn't get it on. Oh, I had it on PS3 at one point, so I had it on PS3. Yeah. 5 copies.
5.
So
on
that's 15.
what? 5 on
15.
what?
I had it on
15.
15 together. Yeah.
Yeah,
3, 4, 5.
Holy moly! That's
Skyrim.
insane.
A lot of Skyrim.
But it's fun.
Continue.
Man.
I just wanted to let that
just,
sink.
like I know there are games that have come out of it. Like Red Dead 2, Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably the most like open world, real life simulation kind of game. You know, but like, man, I still call Skyrim like the Westworld of video games. Just the things you can do and the way people are living their own lives in the game is just nuts. You know, it paved the way for so much open world exploration and stuff like that. I just hopped on a horse. I bought a horse because I think my horse died last time from like fighting a dragon, and then just bought a new one and started cruising. And I remember I played this game on the Switch. The playthrough I did very like realistically. Like I would eat food when I would go to an inn. I would like, you know, decorate my houses that I bought as I like, you know, got money and got infamy in an area. And I would like do real journey between two places. I wouldn't fast travel. Or if I did want to fast travel, I would like go to the guy outside and like pay for the cart.
You're doing proximity
to the city, that kind of thing.
I could see you're doing.
And you really do find so much more in the world by doing this actual like, you know, adventure-based non-fast travel playthrough.
Did you hear me?
That's definitely a strength of the. He's doing
the proximity playthrough. Trip Zero. It's amazing.
And it's funny because I tweeted out. I'm sorry. What did you say? Neil?
I was going to say Bethesda games, like in these ones specifically, in the ones we're talking about, like Fallout and Skyrim, they benefit a lot more when you're just on foot. Because like I played a way more Oblivion than any of Skyrim, which is really weird. But Oblivion, you would encounter things all the time. Like you would just run into random people like pickpocketing you or like robbers on the like they'll stop you on your tracks and try and rob you. Like those games excel at creating those like ambient experiences, those like really just dynamic experiences. Which
that's why there's never been cars in any Fallout game. There's never been cars because
no, you would ruin the exploration if you had cars.
Yeah. Think about it. That's why The Witcher was so good. I mean, hop on a horse. People did not want to fast travel in The Witcher because it was so much fun to travel from. Even if you had to go from one side of the map all the way to the other, people would just do that, and wherever you would go is whatever you would run into, and it really established that. So
the thing they did with The Witcher is they broke it. There were sections, but you could get to the end of the map, and then it would take you to the next map automatically. But it wasn't one huge giant map like Skyrim is. Yeah.
So I tweeted out, "Solitude is the best city. Don't at me." And then Diamond Jab jumped in there, and he's like, "Ooh, like spicy takes." And then you mentioned, Diamond, that you liked Riften.
Yes.
Because Riften is very close to a dragon burial site. So usually new players walk out of Riften and just get fucked. I went to Riften to go into like the Thieves' Den or something. Yep. And I left the Thieves' Den again. And there was a dragon attacking right outside the front gate.
Every time.
Yeah.
It's like clockwork.
And all the guards are freaking the fuck out. You know, there's a dragon. Oh my god, and just fucking losing their shit.
It's all
My
the
horse is
guards.
running in there and trying to paw him.
You
Mr.
have
It's
to-
all the
you know,
guards, and then it's the one guard who's trying to bribe you to get you into Riften. He's like,
right.
hey, if you want to
And
get
then
in
like
here,
you end up smacking a guard because they're all right there cluster fucking around the
Oh, yeah.
dragon, and then they
100%.
arrest you because you like, you know, struck a guard. It's a shit show. But I was like, wow, he literally said that. That's
Riften
exactly what happened.
is
What's
The town,
terrible.
the town at the
I
base
love
of the
Solitude,
mountain is
though.
called Iverstead. Is that the town at the base of the mountain? Iverstead.
Iverstead is
down at the base of the mountain.
yeah. The Iverstead's it's like
Tiny.
three
It's not like a it's
three
not one of-
cottages and then like a sawmill, I think. But yeah, Iverstead is the town you go through before you actually climb up to the Greybeards.
That's where you
when
get
you're
the
High Rock.
get
yeah.
the
Yeah.
you get the quest from the lady who wants the bear pelts. She's like, get me as many bear pelts as possible.
I see. Yeah,
Kill
they
all
should.
the bears.
What's the city that's on top of the rock that overlooks the water?
That's Solitude.
Solitude.
That's okay. Good. I thought that's what you were talking about, and I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
love that
Because it's like you have I'm gonna draw out using the space on my screen. You have the city, you have like the city where you walk into here, right? Like the big chunk of the city. And even that's composed of like different levels. You have like the blacksmith area, like the crafting area, you have like the, you know, the inns and everything, the town square. And then you have like the castle, it's higher up. Actually, I'm gonna do it away from my castle's like higher up, but still accessible to the main town. And then like the rock, the natural rock that it's built on pinches. Like it goes up like this and pinches, and then there's like this little like almost like a bridge, like a natural bridge, and then it goes a little bit thicker, and that's where it connects to like the ground. So you have this like archway that you could walk in under the
It's
city.
beautiful, like you see under the
But that
water.
little pinch, and then like the expansion over here is like the residential area, the neighborhoods.
That's where the
a
Bard
bunch
College
of
is.
the Bard College is there.
Yeah.
That's where the Jarl's house is. All of the houses that are just in the neighborhood. You could buy your own house there, which is a dope, like super well natural lit spot, and it just like
Next
it's
to
like,
the Bard
I love the city.
Cottage.
If you go down the hill, there's the windmill, and then if you go further down are the docks for East India Trading Company.
Yep, exactly.
Sleeper. Solitude's amazing.
It's a great city, beautiful city.
I'm glad we're talking about Skyrim.
Skyrim.
We're,
yeah.
Look, Half-Life
You're making
2,
me wanna boot it up.
Skyrim.
Making me want to boot it up.
It's 2020. We're hitting all these
Yeah,
fucking
I
2020
heard.
games.
I heard.
Buy it again.
I don't know much about it, but I heard Diamond that they added those some of those sections of the map into Elder Scrolls Online, but I don't know.
It's possible. I mean, it's in Greymore, so I don't know exactly what's going to be
Where's
included.
Greymore? I don't remember where that was.
I don't know where Greymore is in the world of things.
That I've
Neither do
never
I.
even heard of. Yeah.
I know you could. It was always fun to like. You can glitch to the top of the map in Skyrim, like it's the bottom of the map, but like the top of the mountains, and you can look out and they actually have the white gold city, the main tower from Oblivion, that's visible and
Oh, yeah,
character
like-
modeled.
Yeah.
It's character modeled as to where it would be geographically, but obviously you can't leave the state of Skyrim.
Mhm.
But like they put it there, but you would never see that if you were never up that high. So it's like maybe they just like in
There's
case
the-
someone like made the camera go like
There's
south
the
enough,
path
you'd see
to
it.
leave Skyrim, which is the cart that takes you down, but
Yeah.
you can't go further.
Right.
From.
Well, you
So.
could fly in one of the DLCs. You could fly dragons, so I'm sure people had to.
They
see
did
it
add that,
eventually.
yeah. This was still in base game though.
Yeah.
The town model.
But
Just interesting.
the version you're playing has all that shit in it. You just would
Yeah,
have-
the Switch version has all DLC
yeah,
built in.
You would have to get to that.
Which and
portion.
I never bought the DLC on any other version. I mean, I guess I own it on the computer, but I didn't really dive into it. But one of the DLC is the Hearthfire DLC, where you can like build your own home
Build your own house.
out of
Yeah.
materials you gather. You
And
gather
adopt
materials and
children.
wood and everything. And
And adopt children. Yeah.
yes,
That's where the
I'm
game
not
gets
doing
real
not
weird.
doing any of that shit. No, thank you. We're
She
good.
comes
We're
up
all
to
good
you.
out
She
here.
goes, "I need a home. Will you be my mommy?"
No,
And you're just like,
no, not at all.
"Okay."
No, I built my house for
Gotta
myself.
sell Skyrim on everyone. It's available on every platform possible.
Yeah,
Truly.
I'm an
Truly.
adventurer. I'm never home, but yeah, sure,
Hey,
I'll
hey,
take care of a child.
Skyrim. Cool. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks. Awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, that's a night week.
Dude, you're making me want to play Skyrim again. No joke.
It's just the
One,
best.
one of those games.
And the music. Oh god, the music. Drink for music.
My dad
Yeah.
listens to that music. He loves that music. He's
It's
never
great
played the
music,
game
dude.
once. I showed him the game finally. I had the Switch down my parents' house, had it on the big TV, and I popped in Skyrim, and I go, check that out. That's from that's the game from the soundtrack that you play. You hear the soundtrack.
A long time ago.
My dad's
I
standing
gave-
behind me. He goes, I swear to God, this is the exact words. He goes, that's pretty real. I'm like, yeah.
I love how Felix presents Skyrim like dudes comparing cars. He's just like, hey, check that out. What do you think of that bad boy right
that,
there?
dude?
But he's been listening to the soundtrack
Look at
for
that.
years.
Look at that
7
town. Look at the model of this town, dude. Look at that blacksmith. This guy's own schedule, man. He's walking around on his own. He's gonna go in his house, whether or not I walk over here. He's doing his own thing.
I sent him that
pretty real.
soundtrack years ago, and he just got into it, and he loves it. And I also sent him the Elder Scrolls Online soundtracks when they came out.
Love it.
A long time ago, when my dad got his first iPod and he was building his music library, I gave him like all of my music. I gave him all of it. And a lot of that consists of all the Final Fantasy music. So whenever I go over there, he'll just play it on his stereo and he goes, "Hey, remember when you gave me this?" I'm like, "Yes, I remember exactly. I know what you're doing, Dad."
I know what you're doing.
He said he loves it. He said he loves all the Final Fantasy music. And various anime soundtracks and that I had on there. It's funny.
My dad just told me he's watching Clone Wars, and I was like,
"Whoa,
what?" He was like, "Yeah, the animation and the comedy is like really good." I was like,
"You're stepping up, guys."
What is happening?
I'm sorry, he went on this tangent, so I'm bringing this up. I got very angry this past week because fucking George Lucas released those goddamn episodes out of fucking order. Why would he do that?
Sorry.
Why would he do that?
I didn't think this was a thing.
Why would you not release them in chronological order? It makes no sense.
It was a production thing. It was a production thing.
It's production.
And you might as well blame Dave Filoni on it.
Yeah.
At least you're the right guy. Yeah.
Dave Filoni's pretty cool though.
He is really cool.
But I had to start over.
Yeah.
I'm rewatching them all over. Now I'm in second season.
Nice.
But I'm doing
Love
it chronologically finally, and it all makes
All
sense.
right.
I actually know who Heavy is, and his death was more dramatic.
Yeah,
Had
that
more
does
of
help
an,
though.
had more of an
Know who
impact
Heavy-
knowing who
I
Heavy
love
was.
it.
Diamond.
Yes.
Let's talk about Crucible. This
Let's.
is a game you got lots of hands-on time with. I want to hear your whole journey with this game because I'm fascinated with it because this honestly came out of nowhere for me.
Yes, for a lot of us it did.
When I saw it, I thought it was this other game that was announced a month or two ago. That was, you know what I'm talking about? You know what game I'm talking about?
Breakaway?
I think it's a live service third-person cover shooter.
Yeah.
Very generic description of the game I'm giving. I'm sorry, but I literally forgot.
It might as well just be, yeah.
I thought this was that. Please take it away. Tell us what this is. What happened?
Yeah, so rewind. I was at PAX East, doing my thing, having a good time, playing games, no big deal. Little did I know that in a really teeny tiny room in the PAX East area, not on the main show floor, not in the area, like off to the side, was Relentless Games. And they are the developer alongside Amazon, who is now getting into the game space with their web service and all that jazz. They're now getting into the game space. They have an MMO coming out later in the fall, and they had this game called Crucible, which was originally a battle royale. That was the original concept of the game. Was a hero shooter that was a battle royale. You chose a character, it's a battle royale, like any other battle royale. Nothing really changed. And then they did not necessarily want to do that anymore. They wanted to try to make something unique. And so Crucible is a PvEVP experience. If you think Gambit in Destiny, Apex Legends, and League of Legends all kind of had a baby, that's pretty much what this is.
It's very good description of that. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's hard to put it into a specific box because it's like 5 different games.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, it is a hero shooter. 10 characters are inserted in the game. Each hero has their own abilities, their own weapons, their own movement styles, the whole 9 yards. But rather than leveling up the character just as you own the game, or rather than the character having preset abilities, every character has their own skill tree that levels in the match that you're currently playing in.
So that's the very MOBA aspect of it, right?
It's the very MOBA aspect of it. Yeah, if you think in League of Legends, you spend your gold to get equipment and abilities. In this instance, it's just abilities. And instead of gold, what they do is they pull from Gambit. You're essentially in the PvE space, the wildlife in the area drops material known as essence. As teams pick that up, it accumulates into XP, and that levels your character. However, the skill tree is chosen before you get into the game. So you essentially have to think about how you want your character to play going into a match, because that's the journey it's going to go on. You can't change it actively over time. Felix, go ahead.
You're using words associated with Destiny, but I think you're not talking about Destiny. So you're saying Gambit and Crucible, and like there's all these words that are Destiny.
This entire game
I'm
is
realizing, yes,
Okay.
there is a game called Crucible.
Got it.
Boom.
That's-
Made by who?
yeah.
Made by Relentless Games and Amazon.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
Perfect.
Different thing.
Yeah.
So, but they have similar qualities to other titles, which is where the Gambit game mode in Destiny comes in.
But they don't
That's all
call.
you
Do
need
they
there.
call that aspect of their game Gambit?
No.
No,
Okay, got it.
no, completely separate, just similar quality.
Similar.
We're just referring to Gambit's game type.
Yeah, you're giving people an analogy, which we're going to talk about
perfect.
later.
And we're talking about MOBAs because it also borrows from the MOBA genre as well when you level up in the game.
Which refers
So,
to a
yeah.
later news point. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, long story short, I did not know this game existed until Nimbus, one of our correspondents, messaged me and was like, hey, check this out. So we check it out. It turns out they had a closed preview and they just let anyone who asked, they let him in there. But there were only 400 of us in there. So it was a very small group. And so it was a closed preview that led to launch in terms of getting an idea of the game. I was under the perception that it was a battle royale, which they have that game mode. Then they have a game mode that is you against the environment, also against other players. So it's this kind of hodgepodge of a lot of moving parts. You're playing against other players, you're fighting against the environment, it's all the same. And launch was today, and I have to admit that my launch kind of review of the game is that there are a lot of games that come with a price tag that are amazing. Red Dead Redemption 2, $60, 100% worth it. Last of Us, $60, 100% worth it, right? You equate the value that you spend with the experience that you get. We played Crucible, and it is not well polished.
Yeah, I would agree.
And it is fairly raw. But those do not equate to the fun that I was having in a group. And I specify that because I played in a group today and it was phenomenal. I played by myself and it was a disaster. So those are two very different experiences.
There's no English voice chat, is there?
There's at the current moment, there's no voice chat.
Yeah.
And there's no text chat. So in a game that requires a lot of cooperation, there is no way to cooperate with the people you're playing with other than hoping that they know how to play the game.
Really hard, and especially that 4-player game mode we were playing.
Correct.
And it requires you to capture points on the map. It
Yes.
requires you to all synchronize and attack a point at the same time and be able to fight another team at the same time.
Correct.
That
Go ahead,
takes a lot of coordination and a lot of talking. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Diamond Jab.
Yes.
This sounds like your day one experience with Fallout 76. I played
no,
with you the
because
first
I didn't
day.
pay for Crucible.
Oh yeah, that's
Crucible's
true.
free to play.
It's free. Got it. Okay, never mind.
So
That's
that's
right.
that's the core difference. If there is one, is that Fallout 76 was an investment, and I had an amazing first day.
First day.
Playing with
And
someone.
then I never saw you again.
And then we couldn't coordinate a day. I tried to play by myself and just really wasn't having it. Right.
Yeah.
But if you had
But the
pay
same concept
60, it would be
applies
the
here.
same. Yeah.
I played in a large group with a lot of communication, and it was phenomenal. It's on par with Valorant in its own way, on par with my Overwatch time, which I put a lot of time into. So like it is a lot of fun. But Overwatch, I found a way to play alone. Valorant, I found a way to play alone.
Mhm.
Crucible, however, does not have the same support system that allows players to play alone. It does have a ping system, but that's only going to take you so far. I could ping an enemy, I could ping an item,
It's not
and
as
I could
strong
ping
as,
a
like,
space.
let's say Apex. Like Apex is when you ping an Apex, the actors vocally contextualize what you're doing, right?
Correct.
Like at all times they contextualize it.
It's much more. There's more detailing in the contextualization for Apex. There is in Crucible. It's just not as exact, right? They might say there's a med kit and that's about it. Like
Yeah.
there's no context to the area or the region or location or whatever the case may be. So, but I will say this, for a free to play game with a $10 battle pass, if you take the Apex concept, it is fairly lenient at what it gives to players that choose to invest. There are 80 tiers in the battle pass, and there are 11 points in those tiers that offer increased XP bumps for these characters, which equates to costumes, lore tabs, audio files, emotes, emojis, and something else. I can't remember what the other thing is. But so there's never a moment as I'm playing where I'm not receiving something for playing. And so I will say that it's free to play games a lot of times will pigeonhole you into equating the time you're putting in with spoon feeding you your goals. This season is fairly lenient in what it gives players. It also gives players,
They have to build their player base up. They have
they have to build their, yeah. So of course, yeah, a year from now, the battle pass could be an absolute disaster. You know, when it finally has players that it tries to make money off of. I will say this though, they are very conscientious about allowing players to choose what they want rather than putting skins on the battle pass. They put keys on the battle pass and you choose what skin you want of the legendaries. So if you don't play as a certain character, there's no benefit to getting that character's skin. Instead, you get this key and you go, where's the character I made? That's the legendary skin I want. So if that's the value, you can kind of define what you want that to be. So it's an anomaly in the free-to-play space. I'm interested to see 6 months down the road what they choose to do. They were adamant there's only going to be one map. They were adamant in terms of the intentional design. They want players to learn the space. They're also adamant that it's not a professional game. It is a video game, and they want to double down on the abilities and the elements of the environment. And they were incredibly open about the lore and the narrative that they were weaving within the characters. So it's a really weird game because it doesn't have the same polish that a game like Apex, which is free to play, does, because it doesn't have the same backing. But it has the same. It has at least what I perceive as more upfront intentionality with its player base early on. So I will say that in terms of the free to play experience. But
one thing I felt about when I was playing it was like that I kept like thinking about like in the act of playing it was it always felt like to me like hit detection and like connecting my swings with a sword or shooting fire at someone with an ability. I never really felt like I was actually hitting a target.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be some kind of like feedback that like actually like tells me that I'm hitting the person a lot easier or I'm getting hit. And that was a problem I was having and I was struggling with most of my time.
Think of it this way. Say what you will about the experience, but I find it incredibly ironic that there's a game with worse hit detection than Anthem had very early on.
Oh, man.
And Anthem had terrible hit detection early on. But a really good example is
that drove me away from the game entirely.
Yeah. So at bare minimum in Anthem, when you're using a flamethrower, there's an audible sound of the ticking noise of the damage over time you're getting, right? This is non-existent in Crucible. When you play as Summer, it looks like your flamethrower is like Photoshop layered on top of the enemy, and then you're just looking at their health bar do whatever is happening.
I played as this character and I'm just trying to paint my flamethrower over the enemy.
Yeah, it's like Microsoft Paint. You're just trying to cover a space and whatever happens.
I don't know damage. I don't know if I'm hurting the person.
Yeah, like, and the thing is that they're thinking about those things, and they've implemented things like damage over time health bars flash a different color when you've done something to that enemy. So like they thought about it in certain aspects, but I think they just haven't polished that out in other areas. I played as a Jonah who has like a grappling hook similar to like Batman. She just attaches it and she swings around. The reticle does not change for what is an attachable point. And so there are moments where I'm just kind of firing and realizing that I'm either too far or it's not an attachable point. So there are wasted clicks. If you think about the professional aspect of like a game, you never want to waste, like Valorant, you never want to waste a click, right? Because it's the chance that you're going to get, taken out if you're not conscientiously thinking about that. This is the same way. If I'm clicking and my ability is doing nothing, that's a wasted click in the experience. So I think as it gets more polished after its launch, I'm interested to see where it goes. But yeah, like if I'm playing with people, there's an odd separation between the experience I was having, the fun I was having versus the things that need to be done. They almost existed in two separate spaces. So it was a really weird kind of experience today, but I enjoyed it for what it was and for the investment that goes into it. So
ultimately, I think the character's abilities are interesting and fun. The way you acquire the abilities over the period of the match is really fun. I think it's all very cool and creative. Like all the character designs are awesome.
There's promise.
You play as a raccoon character that can blink all over the map. It's weird. They're really okay with characters to have distinct abilities and for some to be overpowerful. Like Cezanne has no reload ability. She literally just swaps between weapons, and then there's a recharge timer for when she can use that weapon again. So if you're thinking typical shooters, people after they get a kill are just mashing the R button. In Call of Duty, we see it all the time. They get a kill, they reload. They get a kill, they reload. In this instance, that's not the case. You have to think about, okay, what am I switching to? So there are aspects of it that I think challenge what players are used to, which I think is really good. In some instances, I would say for certain characters more so than Overwatch does. I think Overwatch can sometimes be fairly comfortable in point and click characters. You just kind of point something in a direction, you click, and it does that thing. Echo is probably the first time in a while that they've done that. So yeah, that's actually a good way of putting a point and click character. I like that. Actually.
Yeah, and in this instance, they have characters where that is the case. But then they have characters where there's not, like Rahi and Brother are your tanks. They're not. He's not a great character against multiple enemies, but he absorbs a ton of damage if he's fighting one-on-one. And so you can support other characters and yourself with shielding abilities, similar to like a Zarya, but he has less range than she does. So to be able to think about positioning and where you want to send certain abilities, it's those are the characters I really enjoy that force you to think a little more than say a Mendoza who you could find in any Call of Duty game in history. So
Soldier 76.
Yeah, it's literally it's copy file save as Soldier 76, and that's
exactly copy my homework, but just change it a little so we don't I
just copied my homework, but there it is. So but I think it's a good game for people to have something a little different, to get a vibe what it feels like, and then to take it from there. But I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, me too. Ultimately, I think it's got a lot of promise, and I think with a bunch more months of polish and just taking in player feedback and updating, I think they have a really cool thing going on their hands, especially for a free-to-play game. I think it could potentially do some good. I don't know if it's going to break ground like Apex did, but probably not. But that's okay. It's a special game.
I think if it does a quarter of what Apex did, given the fact that the dev team is only 30 people, that would be considered a success for them. So like, I think they're very upfront in terms of what they want to accomplish and how they want to accomplish it, and they have a long-term goal. Like Amazon is invested in this and New World, which is their MMO coming out in the fall. So they got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline that I'm interested to see I don't think they're trying to take over the industry. I just think they're trying to put stuff out there and see how people feel.
Carving their own little niche in their spot, you know. And I like that. I like that kind of mentality. Yeah.
It's the Devolver mentality.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
example. Good example.
I love them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're great. I love them. I love them so much. You guys ready to move into the news?
Let's do
100%.
the news, man.
Yeah.
Do it. All right. First topic. We're just gonna nail this one out. We're just gonna get this one out of the way. This past week, they showed us our first look of Ghost of Tsushima's gameplay.
Hold on.
Tsushima.
Hold on.
Tsushima, as Felix might put it.
Stupid ads. Fuck.
What are we holding on for?
This is why we need to
Let's,
produce
show that the people in the trailer.
Oh God, Felix.
So we can't hear.
What is it? Play it again. You guys were right.
Yeah. It took Japanese for like 4 years.
Tsushima.
Tsushima.
What clip is that even from?
Dictionary.com.
You know,
he went to.
Dictionary.
Oh, I thought you were playing the trailer of the game.
Where now I'm intrigued where you got Tsushima from.
it's from this clip that we watched.
Let's
This
not go
guy-
back to the conversation.
this
and
guy
let's
said
go
it, and
to
I
the
heard
actual
it.
gameplay.
No. Interesting fact, though. I didn't know that they were independent, separate islands between
Yes.
one of the Japanese islands and Korea.
So there's one thing I love about this trailer, and that is that I've been waiting for a developer to start thinking outside of the box for
Mhm.
third-person open world games. Every third-person open world game feels like they've copied the homework of other third-person open world games and they just kind of insert it into the narrative, right? There are some games like, say, Spider-Man, for example, that allow you to think differently in terms of how you navigate a play space, but the core concept is the same. In the first 5 minutes of this video, they go, we wanted to think about what navigation looked like. So when you ping something on the map, rather than there being a symbol or something for you to follow, nature kind of takes its course and the winds change and blow in the direction you're supposed to be going in, and wheat fields kind of start moving in that direction and trees are swaying in that direction. And I was just like,
Brilliant.
yes.
Yeah,
This is-
absolutely.
We didn't take a little
Absolutely.
diamond or a little square,
like,
or a little arrow, and put it over the map, floating above someone's head
Yeah.
for you to go to.
I said, hey, just the wind
And not-
tells you where to go.
It's artistically beautiful to watch it happen. Right? Like the way they portray like everything, like the wind just like flows in front of you and it creates a picture. Every scene is a photo, right? Like every scene is a picture. Like a beautiful.
Amazing.
It's a brilliant idea.
Easiest way to sell me in the first 5 minutes.
Yep. And not only that, like I guess we'll just go right through it. Like they went into combat, right? Swordplay, quick and breezy. They show you real good, quick samurai combat. Loved it. Loved every second. And there is a button, which an article came out like a day later. There's a button to flip your sword, the blood off your sword.
Yeah.
So you get that like
Very important. It's very important.
all for the visual presentation, like the nature of it. The nature of the whole game is so visually striking. I can't believe it.
It's gorgeous, man. I'm so excited for this game to come out. It's just gorgeous and seamless. And the music is as this person
Music
just
is so
riding through this area. The natural sounds, along with like just the pan flutes that are just weaving in and out of whatever you do.
I like the fact that there's a line that I really love in the state of play where they start talking about the stealth and they go, the world responds to when you choose to become the ghost of Tsushima, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people might go, oh, it's the title. That's a fun play on words. But I took it as the ghost is not the stealth part. It's
right.
the overtly antagonistic part against the culture that you're in. You are brazenly just murdering people. You're not fighting them one-on-one. You're not going through the typical kind of, I guess in that time frame, formalities of battle. where someone like, if you think about like Batman, the way he would act in this era would actually be seen negatively because it's not within the formalities of combat. And I kind of sat back and was like, I like the fact that there's a fear that a game like Batman just makes the character seem scary. Here, people are genuinely fearful of the ghost. Because one, it means you're dead, and two, it means there's no honor in what's happening.
Right.
And I just that wording just really stood out to me, and I was like, holy shit! Like, if I become the ghost, it's almost like this alternative persona that I choose to become, this antagonistic, negative persona, which I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, and they demonstrated it in two ways. They showed you fighting honorably, and donning your samurai gear and going in like, head first, and then they showed later on you being the ghost. They almost made it seem like you were able to like don the mask of the ghost and play a different way, and you could maybe, I don't know if you can choose, I can't confirm this, but like I can choose to go, I'm going to be a samurai here, an honorable warrior, and attack head on, or I'm going to be the ninja ghost, the night,
and I'm going to set this boat on fire.
Exactly.
And like burn this whole place down. Like the dichotomy was so strong that like in a trailer, without revealing a lot, it showed me that the play style wasn't just a unique play style, it was literally a different way to play, which I think a lot of games struggle with.
That aspect reminds me of a game that
Which game?
Some of us have played, Fable.
Oh yeah.
It's just like
Gotta be honest, I thought he was going to say The Saboteur.
Just like
that would have been a great setup for a Saboteur
the ghost
reference.
part of it is just like the Saboteur.
Fable has that aspect where like your choices define how people view you.
Yeah.
Which is really strong.
And it affects you visually too in Fable.
Yeah, like it changes aesthetically, but it like the way you play is arguably the same.
Oh yeah.
Like here, they made it seem as though if you don that samurai armor, you can't really stealth around. Like you can't jump on beams. You can't like use a like in Sekiro, there's no hook to like get up to a higher platform. You can't gain elevation over enemies and like stalk them because you're in this burly samurai armor. Everyone can see you.
Your play style almost.
Yeah. So it's different in that way, and I think that's what drew me was like, oh wow, like if I choose to be this, I have to accept what comes with that.
It's like, to go back to Batman, it's like in The Dark Knight where he has to stop, I forgot what the scene was, but he has to stop like a bomb from going off, but he can't put Batman's suit on. It's daytime. Can't go out and go on as Batman right now. So he gets and he drives as fast as he can and whips through to stop
in the Lamborghini and does what it's however you choose to play, you have to live with the consequences.
Look man, it was the Jeep Grand Cherokee and it was Batman v Superman, the opening.
It was a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Hello.
Another aspect of the game that I was really loving was the duel aspect that they showcased, where you actually get into these like cinematic, filmic, classic samurai movie like face-off duels, and you see how they it looks like they were like filming it like an old samurai movie. Like they had the players face off or the characters face off, and then they clash together in one beautiful.
The camera angles are very low, like at the waist. You're seeing the person past them, but like with the person's weapon in the foreground, like very incredibly cinematic stuff like that. It's very cool.
A mode. That's a mode.
Is a mode?
Yeah,
it's not like counters in the game or whatever.
You set it toward the end of the video. You throw a switch in the beginning. You play it cinematically. It's called Samurai Cinematics, I thought is what the.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
cool. So like a GTA cinematic camera.
The whole game becomes black and white. They add film grain to it.
Oh wow!
And you play the entire. It's exactly when I decided I'm going to play this game. And I was not.
That'd be fun for like a secondary playthrough to experience the whole thing and then go back and like have your favorite moments.
Yeah. I'm gonna
be framed like
I'm gonna do it my first playthrough that way. I'm gonna do.
Not gonna lie, black and white look very good. Like very good.
Yeah.
No. You know who should be a little frustrated at seeing like that one-on-one like cinematic style. Like if I'm the devs of For Honor, I kind of just got showed up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not the same game, but like the core concept of the one-on-one For Honor became this like arcade style, but also like this pro tour, like one-on-one combat, but it doesn't have that gravitas. It doesn't have that thing that
no, it never
intention.
It never really did.
Really tried to have that, but like if I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, why didn't I think of presenting it in that way or putting it in that manner? Because it's just so good to look at.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I wasn't. You guys were all caught up in the wind thing, and I thought that was a cool convention that they're putting into it. But I wasn't like sold on the game, like loving the game until they showed me that I can put on the cinematic mode and play the entire thing like that. I like kind of lost it at that point. But I was also getting on board. Like, in terms of like, the decision making thing is definitely different than anything I played recently. But like, to me, I'm finally getting my Japanese Assassin's Creed game. I'm good. They never gave me that.
Is. I mean, dude, you know that an Assassin's Creed version of this would probably be like very historic in terms of like its accuracy, but you wouldn't get the experience you're going to get in this. You're going to get you're going to get like another Japan light.
Yeah, that's like a super
or like a video game light with this.
That's a super simplistic way of saying it, but it's third person, it's open world, it's Japan.
Oh yeah.
It's better than if I got a Japanese Assassin's Creed game.
Probably a more,
much better.
Definitely going to have a lot of diamonds on the fucking map, you know?
Well, yeah. A lot of towers to climb and to jump off into bales of hay. Just a lot of things to do.
Seven towers. Things to do. Yeah, got to do that.
I do have a side question. I mentioned before the show I had a question about The Last of Us, and it kind of goes into this. Out of all of the games, let's say in the last calendar year, knowing what we're going to get in the holiday, has the defining experience of the PS4 come out yet? Has it been something that you've had already, or are one of these games really going to put a cap or a pinnacle on what the PS4 experience has been?
To me, it's going to be either Ghost of Tsushima or Cyberpunk, and that'll be the cap on this generation. And it's not the first time that it happens. Like you're going to take the entire console generation to understand the hardware, to be able to push it to where you want to take it, and to be able to develop games that squeeze every little bit of it until you're ready for the next generation. And I think one of the best examples ever of this was Final Fantasy 12. Like that game was on the PS2, and that game looks like a PS3 game and had so many systems running that it was mind-boggling. Like it was gorgeous looking. You know, and that was like the last couple months before the PS3 dropped.
Oh, well, then God of War 2 came out on PS2 as the 3 was coming out, right? That was like one of the last games too, as far as I remember.
But I think it's going to be. I think if this year it's going to be either Cyberpunk or this one, and it's going to be just mind blowing.
So that's what I'm saying. If you're looking at the lifespan of the PS4, like you've seen games like God of War, Journey. Like there are a lot of games within the lineage of the PlayStation 4 and its dominance of the space that I'm interested if you feel like this was the moment that like PlayStation, like this is the moment in PlayStation history that I was good. Is Ghost of Tsushima just icing on the cake, and the cake is already something you've experienced, or do you feel like you haven't quite gotten there yet?
I think the Sony specifically has put out bangers since launch, like really solid experiences, visually striking, unique in their experience. Like after seeing Ghost of Tsushima presentation, I literally went back and thought about infamous Second Son. Thank you, because that was one of the first games that I got on the system, next to Killzone Shadowfall, which was the other one. Not a great experience by any stretch of the imagination, but hey, we got Horizon Zero Dawn out of that, which was a great experience, right?
Yeah.
But going back to Infamous, that Infamous game, that thing was striking, beautifully striking at the time it came out. Particle effects galore, beautifully done. They made you use the controller in ways like you shook the controller for the graffiti can, and then you sprayed it along the wall. I don't know if you guys remember that mini game they had. And it was just a fun game to play. Great way to kick off the generation, if you ask me. And then from there on out, we got so many Sony exclusive bangers. Like, oh god, I mean, I can't literally pull them out of my ass. We got Uncharted 4 at some point. We got
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon Zero Dawn, exactly.
The better question to ask, though, really about this game is of Trip Zero. Did you see in this? Did you watch it? You watched the whole thing, right?
Yeah, the trailer. Yeah, the gameplay.
Did you see in this any of the tropes that are consistent with the Sony template that frustrated you or put you off the initial release of God of War and Days Gone and all these games? Remember, you were upset about their template for a period of time.
Yeah, and that was all just like a.
Wait, what specifically?
They were all
Are you talking about the Uncharted template?
Yeah.
They were all being at the same time when they came out, being marketed very, very similarly, and they looked graphically similar, and they just didn't, to me, differentiate themselves enough from each other.
That God of War kind of shat on itself by marketing itself the way it was.
Well, there was God of War
because
it was Uncharted. There was
Days Gone.
There was Days Gone.
Days Gone.
There was something else. But it was essentially heroic protagonist, supportive character, antagonist, amazing world. And that was always the formula. There was never a moment where it was solo character. There was never a moment where there was a group of people, or like it's just the thematic nature of what was being presented was, it felt like they were just making the same game 4 times, just with a different
or
coats
was
of paint.
the marketing just that same consistency? And then, like, because when we got in and finally played God of War, it was outstanding. It wasn't what the trailer presented.
So partially marketing, but I think there was definitely a design thread through all those games of similarity.
Definitely say Last of Us and God of War, I can see for sure having the father-son relationship and the father-daughter relationship kind of weave its way through the narrative.
Oh, there could be a kid in this game. We don't know.
Sure, why not?
He could have a kid.
I think it's good for the way I think about that situation specifically. It's like it's easy for you to have a main character play off someone like a son or a daughter or another, just having another character with you at all times. You let the actors kind of act in the scene, right? And you get all those great behind the scenes with God of War people and all that stuff. And you see, I kind of like that telling of the story of like the the father-daughter, father-son thing. Like, I think that's a really great, heartwarming story to have. Doing it multiple times, probably not the best decision. Probably not.
I just remembered the other thing that totally locked me in, dialed me completely in to this game that's coming out.
Sure.
Ghost of Tsushima. I'm going to pronounce it. There you go.
Tsushima.
I just remembered. It's not just the cinematic thing you can turn on in the beginning. It's full on, completely Japanese performed, that you can turn on in the beginning with English subtitles. That's how I want to play it. I want to play it full on, like I'm watching.
Yeah, I'm not going to be playing this game with like Nolan North voicing the characters, dude. No way.
It could be. I mean, it might be good. I mean, they might be good performances, but yeah, I definitely want to use Japanese performances.
Yes, 1000%.
Yeah.
That actually might be really good.
And that's a switch. He said in the thing, that's a switch you turn on right when you're starting your save. So I wonder
if they did the lip sync for both sides. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I don't know. That might be double the amount of work.
Not all games do that when they do a dubbing. But yeah, this game, one of the most anticipated games next to Cyberpunk for me right now, and Last of Us.
100%.
And usually every year, going back to the Sony thing, every year it is a Sony exclusive game that's always like top of my most anticipated list every time. From Death Stranding to Spider-Man to God of War, like they know how to, even their marketing really sells themselves. Like they really nail it sometimes. And
it's also kind of the games. Like it's
the games sell themselves.
Ain't putting out. I mean, I forgot Crackdown 3 even came out.
I never even played it.
Oh well.
So I mean, like it's a whole vibe.
This summer coming up, man. It's gonna be a banger.
It's gonna be
Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Tony Hawk 1 and 2 coming back out for some fun right before we slide into Cyberpunk the week after.
Yeah.
Oh like, my sheesh, God. Man.
Hey, remember back in January when we were all like, "Oh my God, the spring is packed. What are we gonna do?" And then everything just got pushed. Everything just got postponed to next
Yeah.
year. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
This
was-
might be the first year where like the summertime, because usually summer is a dead season.
It is, yeah. But also, fun little update. I saw on Twitter before we started the show, Kerbal Space Program 2 got
Yeah,
pushed
that
to
got pushed back.
2021.
2021.
That was on my team for this year. That was on my my fantasy developer team. We're gonna have to go back
we have
and
to-
like tally up points and see how we've all done.
Well,
so
I
far.
didn't lose because I had fucking NBA or MLB The Show 2020.
Well, I mean, your boy here picked Final Fantasy VII, and that train ended up being a fantastic train to ride.
Yeah.
So, Diamond, did you? I don't know if you were aware of this. We did a fantasy draft
Uh-huh.
as if we were like teams of developers, and we went like it's like a sports draft, snake draft, 4 games that were coming out in 2020 or rumored to come out. So then you add up the review scores at the end of the year and see who had the best like developer team.
Okay.
Who had Ghost of
So.
Tsushima? Was that you, Neo?
I wonder if I can pull it up. I should have.
I forget. We don't have to do it now because we're not prepared for this, but we need to check in and kind of see where we're at now that we're like getting close to mid-year.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that'd be really fun to revisit. I'm going to just do one more news item for the night, and then I say let's wrap it up. So how's that sound,
Send
guys?
it.
Sounds good.
Let's do. So this is really interesting. I don't know if you guys like looked into this a little bit, but Ubisoft is suing Apple and Google because there is a near carbon copy of Rainbow Six Siege on their stores. I pulled this story because it just fascinated me, and like people were demonstrating doing side by sides. The game looks pretty much like Rainbow Six Siege, like mobile.
Yeah,
It's
I
really
saw
weird.
this and I did a little bit of poking around on the game itself. And regardless of the similarities or not, you can't sue the companies for this. You would go after the people that made this game.
Right?
So this is just them making a big deal and grabbing for attention.
Well, yeah, and that's what confused me at first because I was like, why are they're just the store holders.
There's absolutely no liability for Apple or Google
Right.
for having this on the store. Everything is in the hands of the developer. He pushes that.
So the only thing I can think of is that Rainbow Six can sue the developer, but the store is owned by a major company. So there's no incentive for Apple or Google to pull the game or to block the game from being on the store. You would have to sue the company, but I don't know if legally a judge can say you have to take this down if
Well, I'm
Apple
checking now.
are the ones that are,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know enough
Distributing
about
I guess, would be
how this would work legally, but I would think that they don't touch it. As long as they make sure it's not malware, it's not a virus, that it's not like anything against the store itself's terms of conditions.
Sure.
Then they can just ride it out. So I feel like this is just like it's to get headlines, and then like you still have to redirect this to the owner and developer of the game, and then that decision could get pushed back on Apple and Google to say take this off the store.
Yeah, it sounds like they're being like, oh well, you allowed this you allowed our copyright infringed game on your store, so yeah, that's what it feels like.
Not
to
their
me.
job to know every other derivative work of every single thing that gets submitted. Do you
They're
understand
also
that?
completely going to lose. Like it's not
Right.
because
Ubisoft is going to lose.
unless they name the
It's going to happen on Google, yeah.
the company, unless
No,
they name the game Rainbow Six
Ubisoft.
Siege, Ubisoft is going to lose because unless this company named the game Rainbow Six Siege, you can't copyright game mechanics. Like
Well, whatever happened, as of today, on Area F2's website, they have a service closure announcement saying
they got
we are
pressure.
carrying out improvements to Area F2 in order to deliver a better experience to players. Thus, we will terminate the service of the current version at noon on May 20th. As game developers, we are not willing to accept an experience that we cannot deliver smoothly to as many players as we can. It is our responsibility to solve this issue. So they're saying it's a development problem, not the pressure from Ubisoft.
It's also been removed from the Google Play Store. I was actually I saw that earlier. I was going to point it out, but yeah, it's not. It's gone from the stores now.
This shit is toast.
I wonder how much the companies themselves reached out to the developers and said, "Hey, they're coming at us. It's literally not our responsibility. So we're not going to make it hard on you if you just pull this and deal with it." you know, because like we don't even have to look at this, but you know, it's a pain in the dick. So can you just figure it out?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know?
That's probably what it
I
was.
can just imagine Apple going, bro, this is like a real pain in the dick. Can you
Yeah. Can you just
figure this out, dog?
Like
He's
that,
not.
like, yeah, like that's. It wasn't even Apple. It's just like that sleazy lawyer from Silicon Valley that plays like. Did you guys
Hey, I
watch that show?
represent-
Oh yeah, no, it wouldn't be the head of any department. It would be
Y'all get
someone
shit
on the
together.
legal
What
team.
is that? What is that lawyer's name? He speaks like that. He's always like, bro, let's resolve it this way. You know that guy? love
I need to
that
do
guy.
a whole watch of Silicon Valley like straight
He's
through.
a character actor.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
in tons of shit, and I don't know his name, but he's great as
Love
the
it.
sleazy lawyer, man. And yeah. Thomas Middleditch's character is always like getting in, like completely freaking out. And the guy's like playing like, you know, foosball in his fucking office.
Yeah.
While Thomas Middleditch is like, "Can you stop playing foosball for like 2 seconds?" Love that shit.
That show's great.
That's so good.
But anyway, I thought that was a really interesting thing to happen. And I thought I'd throw that in the old document.
Well,
Yeah.
I referenced it earlier because you were talking about this game Crucible having elements that seem like they're stripped from other games. Like,
Right.
you know, and I said, I obviously I didn't look at this arena. What is it called? Arena, fucking
Area.
Area
F1,
F2.
Area F2. Like, obviously I didn't go in and look at screenshots or know anything about Area F2, but like the basic premise of how you play Siege is not something that you could sue about. I mean, if it looks like there's art that's exactly the same and they named it something really close, like, you know, Rainbow Seven Siege, like, then maybe you have a fucking case, like a strong case to actually sue the pants off of somebody. You know,
If there was
like,
a game called Assassin's Creed and you made a game called Hitman's Promise, like,
well, there was a game. What's that game that's on? No, on iOS they had a game for years that looked exactly like Call of Duty, and that never got pulled down. What was called Brotherhood Company or something like that.
Fucking Hitman's Promise, dude.
I don't
Medal of
like-
Honor?
Murderer's pinky swear.
murder.
What was that?
Wait,
What's that game
Medal
that
of
they
Honor?
had? No, there's a game that looks like Call of Duty. I downloaded it one time. That was exclusive to iOS, but it pretty much is Call of Duty when you play. it.
Oh.
It's got a similar name too. I know
Oh.
exactly what
Like
you're talking about.
Brotherhood
Yeah.
and Brothers in
No,
Arms.
Brother in Arms.
No, it's like oh fuck, dude.
It's like Champion of War or something.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, it's some like
It's not Modern Warfare, but it's like
Yeah.
modern gunfighter.
yeah, it's something.
We
like
don't
that.
know what it's called, but it's shitty and exactly like Call of Duty.
You sound old as fuck.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna find this.
This needs to happen.
Speaking of, I know we weren't going to talk about it, but you had something on Call of Duty in there. And so apparently the next Call of Duty game is Cold War, and it's done by Treyarch, and it's like a continuation. They're bringing back like campaigns and whatnot. But the more interesting piece of the article you put, in my opinion, was actually that the devs for Warzone were just like, we're just going to keep making stuff. And we're gonna, when another one comes out, we're just gonna weave it in there and whatever it looks like. I'm concerned that Warzone is gonna overshadow any Call of Duty that comes out now.
Here's one.
Possible for sure. The campaign's never the most popular.
I got
Yeah.
one. No in-app
That's not how you-
purchases.
Like they play it.
Sorry.
What's
Neil.
up? No, go ahead. Go
No
ahead.
in-app purchases. You can get it for free in iOS. It's called World War Heroes. World War II. I don't know. Fucking. It looks exactly like Call of Duty World War II.
The one we're thinking of, the
Yeah.
one we're all thinking of, because
Yeah.
we all know what it is. It's Modern Combat. There's a
Modern Combat.
There's the Modern Combat series, which is also up to
Yeah.
5 right now on iOS and Android.
Yeah, Modern Combat 5, World War Heroes 2, Brothers in Arms is one of them, but that might be a different style of game.
Game Loft.
No, the
is
one, the
developer who made
yes,
Game Loft.
yes,
There it is.
yes.
They do Asphalt, or as I call it, Fake
Yes.
Need for Speed, and yeah,
They did Fake Destiny too. Remember that?
They did
What was it
Fake-
called? Yeah,
Oh, dude, I downloaded that with you, Trip.
yeah. Remember that?
I remember I played that for a minute.
I was playing
Yeah,
that before
that-
2 came out. I was thirsty over the
Fucking
summer, over
Raid-
summer
Raid Shadow
2017.
Legends.
Gorgeous graphics.
Yeah,
Not sponsored. Hashtag.
that was it. Shadow Legends or Shadow whatever the fuck.
That was
Wow.
Shadow Gun. Shadow Gun Legends.
Shadow Guns. Oh my god, dude. Gameloft really out here. Just fucking Just getting the Xerox machine, a copy machine, just fucking taking the
This is
disc
what I'm.
and
This is what I'm talking about. Like, why
taking the mobile version out.
Why was this company weirdly singled out? Is it that close? It's even closer.
There's a
shit.
lot of,
It's a little disturbingly close. Like
It's
you
a
have
little
operators with one-word names and
colors.
Are
at
they
the
called
top.
operators? That could be a
probably
problem.
not. They're probably called workers.
I guess they're different enough. I don't know. Gameloft's stuff seemed exactly like the source material, so I don't know how they've been just cruising under the radar this whole time.
Forget about those guys.
Gameloft is just under the radar. Dev of the year.
Or Gameloft is getting paid by Activision, and we don't even know it.
Funny enough, Gameloft makes a game called Rainbow Six Shadow Vanguard, which is probably an official
no
Ubisoft's game by Gameloft.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Oh,
dude.
that's from 2011.
Guys, I'm going to be a Shadow Vanguard pro player.
Hell yeah, let's go. Let's go.
It's called
right,
Rainbow Six Shadow Vanguard.
Yeah, that game came out in 2011 though, so it's an old one.
What the fuck?
All right, guys, how about we wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
Y'all ready?
Yep.
Yes.
I think so.
Diamond, thank you for joining us.
Thank
Always
you for
a
having
pleasure
me.
having you on.
Thank you for hosting, or whatever the fuck you
Yeah.
do. Oh god.
Would you like to tell us about you and whatever the fuck you did?
Love it.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So you can find me pretty much anywhere at Diamond Jab, Twitch, Mixer, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, at Diamond Jab. We've been putting up fairly consistently some good content on YouTube, so I'm very happy about that.
Very nice
in
video
terms of
today,
what's going up. I'm probably going to do my review for Crucible. I don't think I'm going to make it on Friday. It's probably going to be up next week because I put up the prep video yesterday. So there's a video up on YouTube right now just to kind of give everyone a chance to kind of look at it and go, all right, what should I know before I get into Crucible, and just give people a little bit of the 411 on what's going on.
Yeah, Felix, that would be an idea of the game too, Felix.
What is it?
Diamond's video. Diamond's.
Oh yeah. No problem.
Yeah. So that's obviously going to go up probably sometime next week. We're going to be playing a lot of Crucible this week, and then next week we are getting back into our Last of Us replay. I went back and I'm playing Last of Us on Mondays and Tuesdays leading up to the launch of Last of Us 2. I haven't played it in a long time, so like being able to get back into it and see the differences. When I watched the Last of Us 2 dev video, one of the things they mentioned was they said it, and it was a phrase that stuck with me. They're like, you are not Joel, you are Ellie. And so the way you look at the game is very different. And so I'm going through this game and realizing that the way that they designed it is as a 6'2", 220-pound guy. Like, I can't lay in the grass. People are just going to see me. I can't be in certain places. And so the way that they've designed the newest game is with Ellie in mind, her physique, the way she stands, the way she crawls, whatever, the way she can jump, of all things. Like, they're very intentional with the design space that they want to use. And so I'm wrapping my head around The Last of Us in terms of how they've designed the first game, and it's a much more interesting experience looking at it from that way. So I'm enjoying it from that standpoint. But I will be playing that next week, and then taking it from there. So I'm pushing stuff out there as consistently as I can. But it's been fun, a little comfortable during this quarantine time. So I've been enjoying it. But yeah, at Diamond Jab for anyone who wants to follow or check out what I'm doing. So
very nice. All right, who's next? I don't know who to point to. Felix,
I'll go.
Go ahead.
This is Trip Zero TV. You guys can find me at mixer.com/Trip0TV. Stream schedule is still very much up in the air as I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my new work schedule. So follow me on my socials. They're all Trip0TV. Twitter's the probably best place to be to kind of know what I'm doing. I've got probably one more stream when it does happen of Final Fantasy VII, the original, which we hopped into after playing the remake. So if you want all the spicy spoilers for what's going to come out in the next remake sections, you know where to find me. And then after that, probably get into some Breath of the Wild, and then kind of going from there, man. We'll see what the stream has time for and where we're going to fit in our new schedule, whatever it may be. So Trip Zero TV, all the places.
Felix?
Yeah, and this is Felix Hergood. I'm Felix Hergood on Twitter and Twitch and Mixer, and Twitch and Mixer go live at the exact same time. Right now, I'm trying to wrap up Assassin's Creed Odyssey DLC, Fate of Atlantis, and I don't know. Maybe I'll play some MLB The Show games coming up, and of course, Fallout is a staple in the channel. Fallout 76. Sorry.
Hell yeah.
Need to
Of
clarify.
course.
Fallout 76. There's a big roadmap coming out for that, so keep an eye on the channel because there's going to be a lot of new shit coming out, and I'm going to be playing it.
Yeah, we can't wait, man. I'm Neo Yoshi. You can find me at Neo_Yoshi on Twitter, twitch.tv/NeoYoshi on Twitch. Playing all kinds of things right now, from Call of Duty to Half-Life 2 to whatever I feel like playing at that exact time. Pretty much just waiting for Last of Us and Ghosts of Tsushima at this point. So anything that I feel like playing, I will probably be playing. So please expect that. Check out my new podcast, Love City Podcast. And that's it. Have a good time.
See you guys next week. Later.
See ya.